International Relations, 2024 Diplomatic Tensions Forecasting Conflicts with Japan and the Philippines over Territorial Waters and Trade Routes. Introduction. The geopolitical landscape of the Indo-Pacific region has been increasingly influenced by rising tensions pertaining to territorial waters, particularly concerning China's assertive maritime claims. This report examines the relationships between Japan, the Philippines, and the implications of their strategic partnership, especially in light of the ongoing territorial disputes in the South China Sea and the potential for future conflicts. Strategic partnerships. The strategic partnership between Japan and the Philippines has been a critical response to shared security concerns about China's territorial ambitions. Since the formalization of their partnership in 2015, both nations have intensified military cooperation, including joint military exercises, capacity building initiatives, and most notably the Reciprocal Access Agreement (RAA) signed on July 8, 2024. This agreement marks Japan's first such military engagement in Asia, allowing for the deployment of troops and equipment for disaster response and combat training. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. of the Philippines has notably shifted from a conciliatory approach towards China previously adopted by his predecessor Rodrigo Duterte to a more assertive stance regarding territorial claims, particularly in the West Philippine Sea. Under this new policy, the Philippines has increased its military presence and has sought to strengthen alliances with other nations, including Japan and the United States. Territorial disputes. The South China Sea serves as a significant flashpoint for territorial disputes, notably surrounding the Second Thomas Shoal. The Philippines has consistently asserted its claims in this region, especially with the grounding of the BRP Sierra Madre, which serves as a floating military outpost. In recent years, confrontations have escalated, with Chinese vessels engaging in aggressive maneuvers against Philippine resupply missions. The Philippine Coast Guard has reported incidents of harassment, including the use of water cannons and military-grade lasers by Chinese ships. The backdrop to these tensions is China's sweeping maritime claims, which have prompted concerns among Southeast Asian nations and have led to increased military collaboration among regional powers. The Permanent Court of Arbitration's 2016 ruling favored the Philippines, invalidating China's expansive claims. However, Beijing has refused to recognize this decision, continuing its militarization of disputed islands. Military buildup and responses. In response to China's assertiveness, Japan has been augmenting its defense capabilities and has provided military support to allies in the region, particularly the Philippines and Vietnam. This military support includes the transfer of defense equipment such as patrol boats to the Philippine Coast Guard and enhanced participation in joint exercises aimed at ensuring maritime security and freedom of navigation. The United States has reaffirmed its defense commitments to the Philippines, emphasizing the importance of upholding international law in the face of Chinese expansionism. This trilateral cooperation among the U.S., Japan, and the Philippines is seen as crucial to counterbalance China's influence in the region. Impact on trade routes. The South China Sea is not only a critical area for territorial disputes but also a vital trade route with significant implications for global commerce. Approximately one-third of global maritime trade transits through this region, making it essential for economic stability. Disruptions due to territorial conflicts could pose serious risks to trade routes, impacting economies far beyond the immediate region. China's activities, including land reclamation and the establishment of military outposts, have raised alarms about the potential for conflict that could disrupt these trade routes. The interconnectedness of the global economy means that any significant escalation in the South China Sea could have ripple effects, affecting trade flows and economic relations worldwide. Common themes and diverging perspectives. The shared apprehension regarding China's territorial claims and military activities is a unifying theme among Japan and the Philippines. Both nations view their partnership as vital for ensuring maritime security and adherence to international law in the Indo-Pacific region. However, there are differences in perspectives regarding the nature of cooperation and potential responses to a broader conflict. While Japan emphasizes military capacity building and defense equipment transfers, the Philippines focuses on enhancing its sovereignty and protecting its territorial waters. Additionally, the potential implications of a conflict over Taiwan add complexity to the regional security dynamics. The Philippines, due to its close ties with the U.S. and its geographical proximity to Taiwan, may find itself drawn into a conflict that could arise from tensions in the Taiwan Strait. Timeline of key events. 1999, the Philippines grounds the BRP Sierra Madre in the Second Thomas Shoal to reinforce territorial claims. 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration rules in favor of the Philippines against China's claims. 2015 to 2024, the Japan-Philippines strategic partnership strengthens through military cooperation, culminating in the RAA in July 2024. 2022, Marcos Jr. assumes the presidency, adopting a more assertive stance against China. 2023 to 2024, incidents of harassment by Chinese vessels against Philippine resupply missions escalate, indicating heightened tensions. Conclusion. The evolving dynamics between Japan and the Philippines reflect a concerted effort to bolster regional security in response to China's assertive maritime policies. The partnership underscores the necessity of trilateral cooperation with the U.S. and highlights the potential for increased geopolitical instability, particularly with looming threats from conflicts such as the situation in Taiwan. The future of this partnership will depend on the ability of both nations to navigate their respective domestic political landscapes while addressing the challenges posed by an increasingly assertive China. The maintenance of peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific will require continued dialogue, strategic alignment, and a commitment to upholding international norms governing maritime conduct. The implications of these tensions extend beyond the immediate region, affecting global trade routes and international economic stability, underscoring the importance of cooperative strategies among like-minded nations to safeguard a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific. Counterintuitive information in international relations, 2024 diplomatic tensions with Japan and the Philippines. 1. Shared security threats versus national interests. While Japan and the Philippines are enhancing their military cooperation primarily due to mutual concerns over China's assertiveness in the South China Sea, it is counterintuitive that this partnership could lead to increased tensions with other Southeast Asian nations. Countries like Vietnam and Malaysia, which also have territorial disputes with China, may not align with the U.S. Japan-Philippines axis due to their own strategic calculations, preferring to maintain a neutral stance to avoid provoking China. This illustrates that shared concerns over a common enemy do not necessarily translate into unified action against it. 2. Japan's pacifism and military expansion. Japan's historical pacifism under Article 9 of its constitution may seem to limit its military capabilities. However, the increasing threat from China has led to a significant shift in public sentiment favoring military expansion and active defense alliances. This change is counterintuitive, since one would expect a pacifist nation to resist enhancing military capabilities. Instead, the perceived immediacy of regional threats has catalyzed a re-evaluation of Japan's military posture, including a record increase in the defense budget. 3. Philippines Diplomatic Balancing Act. Under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the Philippines has pivoted back toward a more assertive stance against China after a period of rapprochement under Rodrigo Duterte. This shift is counterintuitive given the Philippines' historical reliance on the U.S. as its primary security partner. The expectation would be a continued alignment with U.S. interests, but internal political dynamics and nationalistic sentiments have led to a more independent foreign policy approach, emphasizing partnerships with both the U.S. and regional players like Japan. 4. Potential for ASEAN fragmentation. The notion that a Taiwan conflict could fracture ASEAN unity is counterintuitive given the organization's foundational principles of solidarity and collective security. However, the diverging threat perceptions and geopolitical interests of member states could lead to a scenario where countries may prioritize national interests over regional solidarity, thereby undermining ASEAN's cohesion. This fragmentation could be exacerbated if the Philippines engages more directly with U.S. military efforts in response to a Taiwan crisis potentially alienating other ASEAN members. 5. China's possible humanitarian role during conflict. The idea that China might facilitate evacuation operations for Southeast Asian citizens during a Taiwan conflict presents a counterintuitive scenario. While China is often viewed as a belligerent actor in the region, its desire to maintain a favorable diplomatic posture could lead it to offer assistance to Southeast Asian nations. This could be perceived as a strategic move to enhance its soft power and mitigate regional backlash against its actions in Taiwan, showcasing a duality in its approach to international relations. 6. Perception of threat versus actual response. Southeast Asian countries may initially perceive a Taiwan conflict as a primary threat. Yet their actual responses could vary significantly based on domestic political considerations and economic ties with China. For instance, nations like Indonesia and Malaysia may opt for a neutral stance despite public sentiment favoring alignment with the U.S. This disconnect between perceived threats and practical responses highlights the complexities of regional diplomacy, where economic interests often outweigh security concerns. 7. Regional economic dependencies. The heavy economic interdependence of Southeast Asian nations on China creates a counterintuitive situation where, despite security threats posed by China, nations may hesitate to take aggressive stances against Beijing out of fear of economic repercussions. This reality complicates the security landscape as countries may prioritize economic stability over military alliances, leading to a nuanced approach that seeks to balance both aspects. 8. Continuity amid leadership changes. The expectation that regime changes in either Japan or the Philippines will drastically alter their bilateral relations is counterintuitive. While leadership shifts can influence foreign policy, the persistent threat posed by China may solidify ongoing defense partnerships regardless of who is in power. This suggests that geopolitical dynamics can sometimes transcend domestic political changes, emphasizing the role of external threats in shaping state behavior. 9. Increased military collaboration without formal alliances. The growing military collaboration between Japan and the Philippines through agreements like the Reciprocal Access Agreement (RAA) may seem like a precursor to formal alliance structures. However, Japan's constitutional limitations and its historical reluctance to engage in collective defense operations complicate this relationship. The partnership's depth may be limited by Japan's pacifist policies, illustrating that strong military ties can develop even in the absence of formal alliances. 10. Potential for miscalculation. The heightened military presence of Japan and the Philippines in response to China could lead to unintended confrontations, a counterintuitive outcome of their efforts to enhance security. Increased military drills and cooperation may raise the stakes of miscalculations, where a minor incident could escalate into a larger conflict, demonstrating that efforts to secure peace through military means can sometimes lead to the opposite effect. Conclusion. The evolving geopolitical landscape in the Indo-Pacific underscores a range of counterintuitive dynamics in international relations, particularly regarding the interactions between Japan, the Philippines, and China. Shared threats do not necessarily lead to unified actions. National interests can diverge sharply from collective security objectives, and public sentiment can shift rapidly in response to perceived threats, complicating diplomatic relationships. Understanding these complexities is crucial for navigating the future of regional security and cooperation amidst increasing tensions. The report on the evolving geopolitical dynamics between Japan, the Philippines, and China highlights several significant aspects that may be overlooked by many readers. Here are the key overlooked elements along with their significance. 1. The Reciprocal Access Agreement (RAA) as a game changer. The signing of the Reciprocal Access Agreement (RAA) between Japan and the Philippines in July 2024 represents a crucial development in the security landscape of the Indo-Pacific region. While many may view this as a mere formalization of existing cooperation, the RAA has profound implications. It allows Japanese troops to operate in the Philippines and vice versa, enhancing military interoperability and response capabilities to potential conflicts. particularly those involving Chinese aggression. Significance: this agreement signifies a shift from traditional bilateral military cooperation to a more integrated defense posture, potentially altering the balance of power in the region. The operational flexibility it provides could enable rapid responses to crises in the South China Sea or other contested areas. 2. Impact of domestic politics on foreign relations. The report emphasizes the changing leadership dynamics in both Japan and the Philippines, particularly under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., and the implications of Japan's uncertain political future post-Kishida. The stability and direction of these bilateral relations can be significantly affected by domestic political changes which are often underappreciated. Significance: political shifts can lead to drastic changes in foreign policy priorities. For instance, a new administration in Japan might adopt a less assertive defense posture, which could weaken the security partnership with the Philippines at a critical time when collective responses to Chinese assertiveness are necessary. 3. The role of economic factors in maritime security. While the report discusses military partnerships, it also hints at the economic interdependencies that underpin these alliances, particularly through Japan's historical development aid to the Philippines and investments in critical infrastructure. This economic aspect is often overshadowed by military discussions. Significance: economic ties enhance political relations and create a vested interest in maintaining stability in the region. Japan's investments not only bolster the Philippines' capabilities but also ensure that Japan has a reliable ally that shares mutual interests in countering China's maritime claims. This economic dimension is essential for understanding the full scope of the partnership beyond military collaboration. 4. Potential spillover effects of a Taiwan conflict. The implications of a potential military conflict in Taiwan for Southeast Asia, particularly the Philippines, are profound yet often understated. The interconnectedness of regional security issues means that a Taiwan crisis could easily escalate into broader regional tensions involving maritime disputes in the South China Sea. Significance: the Philippines' geographical proximity to Taiwan makes it particularly vulnerable to spillover effects, including economic disruptions and direct military confrontations. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for comprehending how Southeast Asian nations might navigate their foreign policies in times of crisis, potentially leading to significant shifts in alliances and conflict postures. 5. The underestimation of ASEAN's cohesion challenges. The report highlights the potential for ASEAN to fracture in response to a Taiwan crisis, a point that may be dismissed by readers who view ASEAN as a cohesive bloc. The differing priorities and threat perceptions among ASEAN members could lead to divisions, particularly if some nations align more closely with the US and others with China. Significance: this disunity could weaken ASEAN's collective bargaining power and ability to address regional security challenges effectively. The impact of such a fracture could be long-lasting, affecting not only Southeast Asian stability but also the broader Indo-Pacific security architecture. 6. China's tactical responses to regional dynamics. China's approach to maintaining regional stability amid its assertiveness is often characterized as aggressive. However, the report notes that China may seek to limit conflicts in the South China Sea during a Taiwan crisis to avoid further alienating Southeast Asian nations. Significance: this strategic restraint suggests that China is aware of the importance of regional perceptions and is willing to adjust its tactics to maintain influence. Recognizing this nuance can provide a more comprehensive understanding of China's foreign policy and its implications for regional security dynamics. 7. The centrality of maritime security in regional relations. The emphasis on maritime security as a primary focus of the Japan-Philippines partnership is crucial but may not be fully appreciated. As both nations are archipelagic states, their security is inherently tied to maritime domains, making cooperation in this area vital for their sovereignty and economic interests. Significance: A robust maritime security framework between Japan and the Philippines is not just a response to China's actions but a proactive step to ensure the stability of vital trade routes and adherence to international maritime law. This focus on maritime security could serve as a template for other nations in the region facing similar challenges. Conclusion. The evolving geopolitical landscape in the Indo-Pacific, particularly concerning Japan and the Philippines' partnership against China's assertiveness, encompasses complex dynamics often overlooked in discussions. The implications of the RAA, the influence of domestic politics, the economic underpinnings of security partnerships, potential spillover effects from Taiwan, the challenges of ASEAN cohesion, and the nuances of China's regional strategy all contribute to a multifaceted understanding of current and future conflicts in the region. Recognizing these elements is crucial for policymakers and analysts as they navigate the intricate web of international relations in this strategically vital area. In-depth analysis and discussion points on diplomatic tensions and trade route impacts in 2024. 1. Strategic partnerships and military cooperation. The strengthening of strategic partnerships, particularly between Japan and the Philippines, marks a significant shift in regional dynamics in response to perceived threats from China. Since 2015, both nations have enhanced military cooperation through defense equipment transfers, joint exercises, and the signing of the Reciprocal Access Agreement (RAA) in July 2024. This partnership not only aims to bolster the military capabilities of the Philippines but also emphasizes shared interests in maritime security and adherence to international norms, particularly in the context of the South China Sea disputes. The military cooperation is crucial for both nations as they navigate the complexities of regional security, which has been exacerbated by the aggressive stance of China. Discussion point. How might the evolving military cooperation influence the strategic balance in the Indo-Pacific, and what are the potential implications for local populations, especially in contested areas? 2. Territorial disputes and China's assertiveness. The territorial disputes in the South China Sea, particularly around the Second Thomas Shoal, highlight the escalating tensions between China and Southeast Asian nations, especially the Philippines. Under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the Philippines has adopted a more assertive posture against Chinese incursions, contrasting sharply with the previous administration's conciliatory approach. The incidents of harassment by Chinese vessels against Philippine resupply missions have become frequent, indicating an urgent need for a collective response from regional allies. Discussion point. What strategies could the Philippines employ to enhance its maritime security while balancing its partnerships with Japan and the United States, and how will this affect its relations with China? 3. Impact of potential Taiwan conflict on regional security. The potential for a military conflict over Taiwan poses significant risks for Southeast Asia, particularly for the Philippines, which could be drawn into the conflict due to its geographical proximity and defense commitments to the United States. The intersection of a Taiwan crisis with the ongoing South China Sea disputes raises concerns about the stability of the region and the unity of ASEAN. The Philippines' role as a U.S. ally could complicate its relationships with other ASEAN members, many of whom may prefer to maintain a neutral stance towards China. Discussion point. In the event of a conflict over Taiwan, how might the Philippines navigate its alliances with the U.S. and Japan while managing its relationships with other ASEAN countries, and what steps can be taken to mitigate potential risks? 4. Economic implications of maritime security and trade routes. The maritime security situation in the South China Sea is not only a matter of territorial integrity but also significantly impacts regional trade routes. The South China Sea is a vital artery for international trade, and disruptions caused by military tensions could have far-reaching economic consequences not just for the claimant states but for global supply chains. Japan and the Philippines' cooperative efforts in maritime security are aimed at ensuring freedom of navigation, which is crucial for maintaining trade flows. Discussion point. What economic strategies could Japan and the Philippines implement to safeguard trade routes in the face of rising tensions in the South China Sea, and how can they leverage their partnerships to enhance economic resilience? Conclusion. The evolving landscape of diplomatic tensions between Japan, the Philippines, and China has profound implications for regional security and economic stability in the Indo-Pacific. As these nations fortify their partnerships in response to China's assertiveness, the potential for conflict, especially concerning Taiwan, introduces a complex layer of challenges that require careful navigation and strategic foresight. The interplay between military cooperation, territorial disputes, and economic interests will shape the future of international relations in this critical region. 1. The South China Sea Dispute 2010s present. The ongoing territorial disputes in the South China Sea involve multiple Southeast Asian nations including the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei, against China's expansive claims based on the Nine-Line. Tensions have escalated as China has increased its military presence and engaged in land reclamation activities, leading to confrontations with other claimant states. The Philippines has sought international arbitration, resulting in the 2016 Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling in favor of Manila, which China has refused to recognize. The situation continues to evolve with military alliances and partnerships such as those between the Philippines, Japan, and the United States aimed at countering China's assertiveness. 2. The Japan-South Korea Trade Dispute 2019 present. Tensions between Japan and South Korea escalated over historical grievances and trade practices, particularly regarding Japan's export restrictions on key materials used in South Korea's semiconductor industry. The dispute has had significant implications for regional security and economic cooperation, highlighting the fragility of diplomatic relationships in Northeast Asia. The situation has prompted both nations to seek closer ties with the United States as well as to explore alternative supply chains and alliances in response to perceived threats from North Korea and China's growing influence in the region. 3. The Taiwan Strait Crisis 1954 to 1955 and 1995 to 1996. The Taiwan Strait has been a focal point of military tension between China and Taiwan, particularly during the crises of 1954 to 1955 and 1995 to 1996. In both instances, China conducted military exercises and missile tests aimed at intimidating Taiwan, which led to U.S. military responses, including the deployment of aircraft carriers to the region. The crises prompted Taiwan to bolster its defenses and seek closer military ties with the United States, while also raising concerns among neighboring countries about the potential for conflict spilling over into the broader region. The continuing tensions in the Taiwan Strait remain a significant factor in the geopolitical calculations of East Asian nations, including Japan and the Philippines. The geopolitical landscape of the Indo-Pacific region is set to witness escalating diplomatic tensions in 2024, primarily driven by territorial disputes involving Japan and the Philippines in the South China Sea. These disputes are increasingly intertwined with broader regional dynamics, particularly concerning China's assertive maritime policies, which threaten the established norms of international law and regional stability. Predictions for 2024 diplomatic tensions. 1. Increased military engagement. The strategic partnership between Japan and the Philippines will deepen, particularly following the signing of the Reciprocal Access Agreement (RAA) in July 2024. This agreement will facilitate greater military cooperation, including joint exercises and logistical support, enhancing the operational capabilities of both countries against the backdrop of a rising Chinese threat. Expect more frequent joint military drills and enhanced defense equipment transfers, particularly in maritime security operations. 2. Escalation of maritime incidents. Tensions in the South China Sea, particularly around the Second Thomas Shoal, are predicted to escalate further. The Philippines under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will likely continue to assert its territorial claims vigorously, leading to increased confrontations with Chinese vessels. This could manifest in more frequent incidents involving harassment tactics such as the use of water cannons or dangerous maneuvers by Chinese Coast Guard ships. 3. Regional alliances and defense cooperation. The U.S. will reaffirm its commitment to the Philippines through the Mutual Defense Treaty, which could be invoked in the event of a military confrontation with China. This will likely lead to more trilateral exercises involving the US, Japan, and the Philippines, emphasizing collective security and deterrence strategies. Furthermore, Japan's increasing military capabilities will play a critical role in regional security dynamics, leading to a more pronounced Japanese presence in Southeast Asian waters. For economic ramifications, the tensions in the South China Sea will impact trade routes, particularly as the region is a vital artery for global commerce. Any military conflict or sustained military posturing could lead to disruptions in maritime traffic, affecting trade not just for the Philippines and Japan but for other regional economies reliant on these sea lanes. Expect fluctuations in shipping costs and insurance premiums, alongside potential sanctions or trade restrictions as countries recalibrate their economic policies in response to rising tensions. 5. Shift in ASEAN dynamics. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations (ASEAN) may face internal divisions as member states respond differently to the evolving situation. While countries like the Philippines may align more closely with the US and its allies, others may prefer a neutral or pro-China stance, complicating collective action within ASEAN. This could lead to a weakening of ASEAN's influence in regional security matters and create a fragmented response to China's actions in the South China Sea. Broader implications. 1. Taiwan crisis spillover. The Taiwan issue will loom large over the diplomatic landscape, influencing how Japan and the Philippines approach their security strategies. Should tensions escalate in Taiwan, the Philippines may find itself drawn into a broader conflict, especially given its geographical proximity and military agreements with the US and Japan. This scenario could lead to direct military confrontations in the South China Sea, complicating the already tense dynamics. 2. Chinese countermeasures. China is expected to respond aggressively to the growing military cooperation between Japan and the Philippines. This may include increased military presence in disputed waters, expanded construction of military facilities on artificial islands, and heightened propaganda campaigns to assert its claims over the South China Sea. Additionally, China may leverage economic ties to influence Southeast Asian nations, attempting to isolate the Philippines diplomatically. 3. Public sentiment and political pressures. Domestic public sentiment in both Japan and the Philippines will play a crucial role in shaping foreign policy decisions. Rising nationalism and concerns over territorial integrity may drive both governments to adopt more assertive stances in their dealings with China. However, public opposition to military engagements could also emerge, especially if military conflicts lead to casualties or economic disruptions. Conclusion. As 2024 unfolds, the diplomatic tensions involving Japan and the Philippines over territorial waters in the South China Sea will intensify, influenced by China's assertiveness and the shifting dynamics within regional alliances. The potential for military confrontations, economic disruptions, and shifts in regional cooperation will create a complex and precarious environment in the Indo-Pacific, necessitating careful navigation by all parties involved. The interplay between military readiness, economic interests, and political will be crucial in determining the trajectory of these tensions and their broader implications for regional stability.